What's going on, people, and welcome to a new video today. A brand new series I'm bringing you, and I'm going to be bringing more, so watch out in the community tab. I'm going to put a new poll up later today with another matchup for player versus player. But the new series is player versus player, and the first one we're doing is Pele versus Maradona, two legends of the game. Pele's obviously very ill at the moment. Hopefully he's going to pull through. Maradona we lost quite recently too. And obviously Messi winning the World Cup as well yesterday. Finally getting his hands on the trophy that has got out of his grasp his whole career. And it's just a shame that Maradona weren't here physically to see it happen, but he was definitely there in spirit. So let's get into it. So all these categories here, I'm just going to name which one I believe. So it's kind of preference, but also opinion and a bit of stats. So I'd love to see your guys' comments as well on who you have for each of these categories. First up, shooting. I think you can't argue with Pele's numbers in his career. Maradona scored some clutch goals at times, but for me, the record he has, he held the record for most goals for a long time. Pele actually got 757 officially recorded goals, but also they reckon that he scored over 1,000 goals, which is stuff in like friendlies and stuff. But I'm not counting them, counting the officially recorded goals, which stands at 757, which stood for a very long time. And Maradona, 338, which is no small feat in itself, but for me, it's not even close to Pele's record. So shooting has to go to Pele. Second category, heading. I couldn't find any stats on Maradona's heading goals, like recorded headed goals. So I know Pele scored a few, but from what I've seen in clips and remember, Pele definitely scored more and had a better ability of heading the ball. So Pele, again, confidence for me, I think Pele had a quieter, more under the radar confidence. He was a bit more humble and subtle about his confidence, I believe. Won his first World Cup at 17 years old and played a major part in that. You have to have a level of confidence to be able to do that anyway. Whether or not you're vocal about it is a different thing. But for me, Maradona, in terms of his outspokenness, his confidence in terms of the clips we've seen of him juggling the ball, that goal against England, not the hand of God, but the other one where he beats like most of the team and scores. His ability, the tricks he did, the confidence, the showmanship. For me, the confidence factor has to go to Maradona. As for teamwork, this one is more of a preference. I don't look at them and class them. I know they play in a team game, and football is team sport, not a one-man game. So they have to be team players to a certain extent to be able to do what they do. It's a hard one. I personally feel like Maradona probably pulled his team through more games. But then Pele's won 3 World Cups and Maradona's won 1. So you could argue that Pele didn't just score them goals himself, and he did chip in with assists for teammates and stuff. This one is probably the toughest one for me. Teamwork, I'm going to give it to Pele simply because I think Pele was a little bit less unselfish compared to Maradona. So yeah, but this one's up for debate, but I would go Pele for teamwork. World Cups, obviously I've just spoken about it. 3 for Pele, first one at 17 as well. Maradona won it in 86, obviously. Same year he scored that wonderful goal against England. But 3-1 in terms of World Cups, I don't think you can argue with. I think Maradona had more memorable World Cup moments in terms of individual quality and stuff, but then that's up for debate too, because Pele did it before him and won more. So it's up for debate again, but for me, I have more fonder memories of Maradona in terms of individual moments, even though Pele won more World Cups. But for sheer numbers and stats, I would go with Pele. For career, Pele had a 22-year career and Maradona had a 21-year career. So only a 1-year difference in that. And because of that, I've edged it to Pele because he did go for 1 year longer. And he didn't have all the stuff on and off the field, problems with the drugs and stuff like Maradona did. So for me, career, I think Maradona had a fantastic career while it lasted, but it was kind of live fast and then deal with the consequences, whereas Pele, I think, is a bit more measured and had a bit more of a decorated career, didn't have the drug scandal stuff either. So for me, career, Pele. Goals, Pele's is unmatched in terms of most players. I know it got beaten quite recently, but in terms of when you're looking at the whole football history, Pele's one of the top in terms of sheer numbers in goals. And that's just a recorded amount of goals. And Maradona has 338 goals, which, as I said, is not a small feat either. But in terms of numbers, goals, like I think Maradona probably scored more beautiful goals and better on the eye goals, individual goals that are better to look at and watch. But Pele, in terms of the number, the efficiency, I have to give it to him. Pele for goals. Trophies, up for debate again. I think Pele won a few more than Maradona. And obviously the big deciding factor for me was Pele with the World Cups, because it's 3-1 and the World Cup's the biggest thing you can win for me. Maradona won his fair share of things, but for me, Pele with the 3 World Cups to 1 to Maradona was the deciding factor in this, so I would go with Pele. Longevity, it's up for debate. It's hard because there's 1 year's difference in the career span. I'm looking at it as the stuff like the drug scandal stuff as well with Maradona. What they achieved in terms of the trophies they won, different places they got to go and play. I would give it to Pele. Obviously, he ended his career in the MLS. In America, I got to see a different part of the world. I think Maradona was a little bit... His was hampered by the drugs and stuff and all the politics off the field and all the coverage he got. Not always for the good reasons in terms of the mafia incidents and that he was involved with. So for me, I would give it to Pele again. But again, up for debate. Star power, I would give to Maradona. I think in terms of a character, the outlandishness, as I said, the confidence, bigger than life character, the bigger than life being. Now, if both these guys walked into a room, everyone would turn and look and show respect, because that's just the level of what they did with their life and their career and what they mean to people. But I think Maradona was a star. Pele was also, but I think Maradona was more of a shining star in terms of what he could do in individual moments, star quality, like one of them players that get you off your seat. I think he'd done that more than Pele did. Pele had better numbers in terms of goals and things, but I think Maradona was the more pleasing player to watch on the eye. Now, people that watch Pele more and got to see more of Pele before Maradona might disagree, but from what I've seen from clips and stuff, Maradona, for me, definitely wins the star power factor. And then lastly, to finish this one off, guys, legacy. What they've both left in the game, how they're remembered, for good or bad. A tough one again. I think Maradona, for me, is one of the best players I've ever seen in terms of all-round ability. Pele, in terms of sheer numbers, I fully respect it. Who would I prefer to watch? Maradona, if I'm honest. He's more my type of player, the type of player I like to watch. I respect numbers and amount of goals and stuff you can score, but in terms of the actual footballer, what they bring on the pitch, moments, individual moments, quality, skills, and players that get you off your seat, for me personally, it would be Maradona. When you're looking at it from a different view and perspective of how everyone else would look at it, I think Pele has a more respectable legacy because he didn't have the drug scandal stuff, winning a World Cup at 17, the number of goals that stood for as long as it did, 757 goals in a span of a long career, how he did it. I think Maradona has a great legacy, but it's always going to be hampered with the stuff like the mafia incidents, the drug scandal at the 94 World Cup and things like that. I think Maradona will never be forgotten, and rightly so. But sometimes when people look back on his career, they will remember them dark times as well, and the negatives, the likes of the drugs, the mafia stuff. So personally, I would go Maradona because in terms of just footballing and stuff on the pitch. But I can understand why people would look at Pele with more respect, because he was more humble, more professional in terms of you didn't see him in trouble off the pitch and stuff. So looking at it from a fair eye and not just a personal opinion, legacy, I would go with Pele. So if we top and add these up, I'm going to give a point now for how these videos will work. I'm going to give a point for each player every time they win a category, and then whoever has the most at the end wins the versus competition and comes out on top. So, shooting, we give it to Pele. So he's got 1. Heading, Pele. 2-0 Pele. Confidence, Maradona, 2-1 Pele. Teamwork, Pele, 3-1. World Cups, Pele, 4-1. Career, Pele, 5-1. Goals, Pele, 6-1. Trophies, Pele, 7-1. Longevity, Pele, 8-1. Star power, Maradona, 8-2. And legacy, Pele, 9-2 Pele. Wow. So, for me, it's hard because when I think of them both, off the bat, just quickly in my head, I preferred Maradona. But when you categorise it like this and go through, and you can't ignore numbers that Pele put up and stuff like, you can't, like, I'm not going to lie on these videos, even if I prefer them as an individual and what I prefer, I'm going to try and do it as fair as I can in terms of the numbers, the stats, and how I would look at it from just an unbiased perspective. So I think that shows, because as I said, Maradona I preferred out of the two, but Pele, you have to respect what he did. And he's a clear winner in this. Pele 9, Maradona 2. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Let me know your categories in the comments and who you would vote, because I'd love to see that too. In the community tab, check for a new poll. I've got some new player versus player. So go and check in the community and get voting on them for the next player versus player. And I might do a post recap of the World Cup soon. I've got to do my team of the tournament for the World Cup, so that is going to be the next video. But then after that, there'll be another player versus player probably. And I've also got to do a top 10 all-time League R kits. So look out for that as well, guys. Look out for the community tab later as well, guys, as I said, to get voting on this player versus player for the next one I do. Let me know yours in the comments, guys, and I'll see you soon.